Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. Today, I'm joined by a very special guest, Crypto Grinds, and it's a real pleasure to have him here today because I really appreciate, his insights. He's one of the most unique gem hunters. Always, comes up with some of the best stuff where no one else is looking. And we're going to talk about so many things today. We're going to look at Bitcoin, the market conditions, where we think Bitcoin is going, whether we've seen the worst, was is 90K going to be the limit of this retrace? Are we going to keep going higher from here? Or would it get worse than 19,000? As you can see, the fear and greed index, we are into fear, but not extreme fear. So there's a bit of fear in the markets. However, there seems to be some kind of recovery going on today. I mean, if you joined us on our last live stream with Seth, we were saying we are probably going to stop at 19K and then head back up, but there's still possibility that we go down to 17K, and we are going to share more on that in a moment. So in addition to this, we're also going to be looking at some altcoin gems that are presenting great opportunities for accumulating, because eventually, in the end, we are still long-term investors, and obviously not financial advice, but long-term investing is key for me and for many others of the gem hunters. So what are some great altcoins that you can accumulate right now? When Bitcoin went back up by 20%, we saw many altcoins going up by 1,000%. We saw 10x's, 20x's. Are we seeing such an opportunity right now? Can there be hidden altcoin gems that, if you accumulate now, once Bitcoin goes back to 27K, you get some crazy good returns? Well, stick around and find out. We're going to look at some gems like that. So I've been rambling on long enough. Crypto Grinds, thank you so much for joining us here today. How are you?
No, I'm good, thank you. It's good. It's good to be here.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me today. Guys, if you are new here, Crypto Grinds is an amazing gem hunter. Be sure to head over to his channel as well. Drop a like, drop a subscribe, and let's get right to it. Bitcoin. So we saw a lot of bearish news yesterday. Biden, the president of the United States, declared that mining Bitcoin should have a 30% tax because it's not environmentally friendly. And there was also KuCoin, the New York state attorney, the New York American legal system are going for KuCoin, and they are suing KuCoin as well, which I find a little bit ridiculous because KuCoin doesn't even operate in the United States. I mean, it's
Mm.
an exchange that is in so many other parts of the world. And that brings me to a topic I've covered several times on my channel. How heavy do you think America will keep playing on the crypto space? I mean, crypto is meant to be a borderless idea, but time and time again, we see, the American government and the SEC going for BUSD, going for crypto exchanges, and those kind of news tend to affect the entire crypto market. So,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that? Do you think the crypto space is going to mature to a point where we see, the market and the market's behavior detaching from US laws and US legislations?
Um, Personally, I think that America is going to start falling behind when it comes to cryptocurrency, blockchain technology as a whole. The only one that seems to be sort of immune to any sort of legal action is Bitcoin for one reason or another. They're applying for the ETFs, and that sort of thing. So Bitcoin, for one reason or another, seems to be immune. But I recently saw an interview with, I don't know if you know who Brad Garlinghouse is. He's the head of Ripple. Obviously, Ripple have the XRP coin. And he was asked what's going to happen. And he's already said that cryptocurrency and businesses around cryptocurrency are leaving. They're going to the places like South Korea, the Philippines, Singapore, Dubai, and they're operating out of those places, and even the UK, because the UK has been shown to be very crypto friendly. A lot of the regulations and the bills that they're proposing, they are going to be taxing cryptocurrencies, but they're not going to be hitting cryptocurrencies very hard. They're moving towards CBDCs in the UK. They've got their pilot projects. If you look around the world, even Brazil announced this week that they've got a pilot project for CBDCs, and people will be able to use the CBDC as early as 2024. Where America, they're starting to investigate CBDCs, but they're very far behind. There's even, we were talking about how far behind Africa is, where you are, and I'm in South Africa as well. And even our countries, Nigeria and South Africa, are investigating CBDCs and looking at ways to incorporate this digital technology. America's not doing that. Instead, they seem to be going after everybody who is forward thinking when it comes to this technology. And I personally, I don't want to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I think that it's the banks and the large corporations who are realizing that they are going to be losing a lot of money because people are going to be migrating away from traditional bank accounts, and they're going to be going to using a crypto wallet. Why must I go to the bank and get 5% interest when I can go and stake some of my coins and get 20%? The same amount of money, so I can make more passive income through cryptocurrencies. And I think the financial institutions, instead of embracing this crypto technology, are attacking it. And that to me just seems like it's the worst way possible. And I really do think that America are going to fall very far behind when it comes to this technology.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. And it's quite sad to see, really, because, America has always been like a beacon of freedom and, trying to be embracing innovative and new technology. So them falling behind when it comes to cryptocurrency is quite sad to see. And I really like a lot of the points you made, because even though we like to see, adoption from all over the world, if America decides they want to fall behind when it comes to cryptocurrencies, it's more of their loss, really, because a lot of institutions, a lot of money are going to flow to regions that are going to be more friendly with cryptocurrencies. Everybody's talking about moving to Dubai now. Everybody's talking about moving to other countries all around the world that have, more friendly nature towards cryptocurrency. So I think it's an important point, for people who always panic based on Gary Gensler or Jerome Powell. Crypto is here to stay, whether Americans like it or not. And if they want to stay behind, it's more of their loss, really. If they decide to go after BUSD, what's stopping them from going after an European, the Euro stable coin, or
Yeah.
another stable coin, maybe dirhams, where people are happy to put their you know have their crypto pegged to the currencies of those countries that are friendly to crypto. So yeah, America and cryptocurrencies, even though there are a lot of bearish news coming from the US in particular, I still think crypto is going to do well long term. I still think crypto is here to stay. And many people are catching on to that. A lot of people are going to realize soon that, America's policies would not completely affect cryptocurrencies. If they go after KuCoin, KuCoin will just easily move over to countries that accept them. Same with Binance, same with many other businesses and cryptocurrencies. And that you also brought up an important issue, which the gem hunters have been talking about, and that's securities versus commodities. And that's another major reason for the dip we are seeing in the markets right now. People, institutions, governments, and legislatures coming after Ethereum as a security. I mean, if you think about it, Ethereum, when it started, yeah, you can look at it as a security, but it's now a global phenomenon. I'm just giving my opinion here. Ethereum is now a global phenomenon. It's become too big, and it's moved past that point where you would look at it as a security. And I personally think it's too big to fail right now. So the second largest cryptocurrencies has got over 60% of the total value locked in the entire crypto space. So that brings up another point. Do you think I'm going to give my thoughts. And the question is, do you think crypto projects that aren't regulated will do well? And personally, I think it's just more to do with, where the regulations are coming from and the kind of regulations. What the kind of regulation is also matters. I mean, if they are going to be a gambling site, even if it's crypto, the regulations might be different from if it's going to be just staking. It's going to be different from launchpad. So saying regulations, a crypto project is regulatory compliant is definitely a bonus. Is definitely a plus in a project, especially if you're an American and you don't want Ford
Mm,
um, pushing down the prices of your bag. But
yeah,
I still think projects, that have good fundamentals, and after doing your own diligence, regulations are actually good, can be good for the crypto space. It gives institutions
yeah,
a freer area to work with, and it gives them a sounder, clear lines on how they can operate. So, but if they aren't there, it doesn't mean the project can't do well.
yeah.
What's your take on this?
Um, I think regulations, it's a very touchy subject in the crypto space. Um, and I think a lot of people within the crypto space hear the word regulation and they get scared. But you brought up a really good point, and that was something that while you were talking, I was actually going to touch on as well. And that is it brings institutions into the game. And institutions bring money us as retail investors, we can put in $100, $1,000, $10,000, however much you have. It's nothing compared to the billions that these institutions can bring into the crypto market. And if we want to say that one day Bitcoin is going to have a higher market cap than gold, the only way we're going to do that is by bringing institutions in. How you're going to do that is regulation. They're not going to put their money into things where they're scared that they're going to get big fines because they're seen as being financially uncompliant with whatever regulations are in that country. So regulation for me is a good thing. It depends on how harsh the regulations can be. That's where I am against regulation. And I know I'm not a big fan of CBDCs, but they are going to happen. So that's another thing that they're going to be regulated, and you've got to be careful about. And we need to push back to our governments and say these regulations are ridiculous. Now, it depends on the type of government you have. If you're in America or the UK or whatnot, they tend to listen to the people a bit more than like where we come from in Africa, where we're the people talk and the government don't care. So regulations, yes, but fundamentals are also very important. We've done talks and videos about things like VIA, for example, that have got, they're well regulated in certain markets. There's LCX as well, which meets all the regulations in Luxembourg, which is another one. So the cryptocurrencies, there are ones that are recognizing that they need to be regulated. Those ones that they are regulated, and they also have the solid projects and the backing behind them, where they've got really good foundations and good use cases. They're probably going to do better initially. But when you have a look at most of your top 100, I would probably say about 60 of those, if they get regulated and they have the solid fundamentals that their project brings, whether it's Matic or HBAR or Quant or Cosmos, whatever, they have really solid fundamentals, and they then make sure that they are regulatory compliant, they're going to do really well. And you're going to see these, like we want to call them shit coins, like Shiba Inu and Dogecoin and any other dog coin that I'm really not a fan of these coins. They have their place, in my opinion, where they bring people into the crypto space. For example, my very first buy was Ethereum about 6 years ago, but I didn't really know anything about cryptocurrency. I was just using it to like join some of the guys that I worked with. But then my very first buy was Dogecoin. I didn't know anything about it, but I heard people making gains on Dogecoin. So I was like, cool. So it gets people into the market. But
Yeah.
other than that, there's no fundamentals behind it. So regulation can help. It has its place, but over-regulation can also be detrimental to cryptocurrency as well.
Definitely, I agree with you. I mean, we like to have a balance with these things, something that will give institutional investors the confidence to come in, and something that would not restrict retail investors from having the freedom to navigate the crypto space how they want. Thank you so much for that, Crypto Grinds. I really appreciate it. Excellent take. And you also mentioned um fundamentals, and I think this is a good point where I can talk about some projects that we're looking into that have good fundamentals. And I brought up this chart because human psychology and the Bitcoin, not just Bitcoin, the entire crypto markets, um, the valuation of the entire crypto market, they have this very strong correlation with this chart. So 2023 is there's a lot of uncertainty. We don't know exactly how it will go, but what I think is, if you look at the chart, I think we're in a period where we can accumulate and make good gains. And I made a video about it yesterday, talking about generational wealth. This might be presenting a once in a lifetime opportunity before the next bull run. I mean, a lot of people are going to see you in the next bull run and then think you're lucky. They're not going to remember that we stuck through in the markets when FTX
Mm.
was crashing, when the regulators were coming, when there was all of this fraud about Binance and stuff like that. So how can you now make it for the next bull run? And that's accumulating the right project. And the reason why this is important is their narratives and their trends, things that can become big and everybody's talking about, and will do well because they have crazy pump. But projects with solid fundamentals will grow organically, slow and steady, irrespective of the narrative, irrespective of what everybody is talking about, what there's hype. Just because everybody was talking about AI cryptocurrencies, it didn't stop storage cryptocurrencies and other narratives from going up. So my point is, there can be a bullish narrative, but other great projects are still going to grow well organically as long as they have the solid fundamentals. So what
Mm.
are the kind of projects I'm looking into? I'm going to get to you very soon, but what I would say is, for people who are live now and people who are going to watch later, the kind of projects that I'm particularly interested in, that I believe will do well, that I believe have strong fundamentals and good use cases, are projects that support interoperability. Because right now, crypto is on survival mode. Crypto is all about trying to survive the regulations and all of the fraud and all of the crazes that are happening right now, all of the hacks, trying to get people to trust them. So projects that focus on making crypto projects survive in the space, I believe they are going to do well, and that's where interoperability comes in. So take for example one of the projects I've been talking about for quite a while now. Let me quickly bring that up. XP Network. XP Network is a project brings interoperability brings interoperability to the NFT niche, and I believe that's a big deal because you know um, NFTs, there are pictures, there are different use cases. Whether or not you're bullish on NFTs is another story entirely. But as long as there are projects that are trying to survive in the space, I mean, look at when Solana was going down. One of the biggest NFT projects then, D Gods and Youths, they decided, no, we don't want to work on the Solana blockchain anymore. We want to move over to the Polygon blockchain because it's cheaper there and it's safer there. And
Mm.
then they ported over. We've got different use cases, different NFT projects that decide we want to move over from one blockchain to another to enjoy the benefits or to avoid some risk. Projects that allow other projects exist within the space are going to do well, in my opinion. And that's something I always look out for, that I give a big plus to in projects. So that's one narrative I'm looking at in terms of finding projects with strong fundamentals, projects that support interoperability, because crypto is really on survival mode right now, and projects that allow other crypto projects to exist and operate well will do well. Another set of projects that I believe will do very well in the crypto space that I think you should pay close attention to and are worth accumulating are projects that aid adoption. Because we love crypto, we've been in the space for a long time. However, projects that make newcomers feel comfortable in the space, or even projects that makes things easier for veterans in the space, I believe they will do well as well. So projects like Injective Protocol, uh, is something I like to pay attention to, because these are projects that they have this interoperability I was talking about. They allow other projects to operate well and exist within the space, and they give developers, this opportunity to create new DeFi platforms and get started within the space. So Morpheus Labs, XP Network, and Injective Protocol, just some of the few gems I'm looking into. I'm still going to share some more with you. I just want to hear what you think about it. Are there any narratives that you believe will do well? Are there any projects you're looking into, crypto grinds?
Yeah, so I agree with you. I think NFT projects for me, if when you see NFT projects explode, especially the specific NFTs, that's when you should start to do some serious profit taking. Because when you have a look at the previous bull run, we had Bitcoin did well, then we had Ethereum, then we really went into altcoin season where the alts pumped. Then we had the NFT starting to pump. And when we saw the metaverse projects pump, that's when everything started to go down. So in the next bull run, one piece of advice before I talk about some of the narratives, when the NFTs start to pump, start taking profits for some of your projects. Because I saw another guy, he actually had some really good advice. And that's when you hear musicians making songs about cryptocurrencies and how much money they're making from cryptos, that's when you start to get out as well. Because the FOMO buys, you might see a couple of days where the candles are going to spike, like we did with Dogecoin as an example, and then it was game over. So that's when you start to get out. But some of the narratives that I'm looking at, the things that are the new layer ones that are coming out are the ones that I'm looking at. I think the new layer ones are focusing a lot more on being efficient. We had Bitcoin, and I think Bitcoin is always going to be our gold. It's always going to be our standard. But there are a lot of layer ones coming out that are even proof of work, like CAS is one that I've been looking at, and I think it can do really well. It's proof of work, but it is faster, more energy efficient, and the whole thing than Bitcoin. So there's some of the new layer ones out there that I think can do really well. LF0 is another one. If you have a look at that and what LF0 offer, they can do things with medical, they can do things with legal, with a lot of the way that they're focusing their smart contracts and NFTs. So they've now taken the NFT sort of idea and they said, we can use it as a legal contract, which is fantastic, because I think that's got a better use case than a picture of a zombie ape. Those things are stupid. You're spending $500,000 on a zombie ape, where this LF0, for example, can really give utility with an NFT. So I think that's another narrative that I'm looking at. And another one is music. It's going to be big in the crypto space. We're going to see the likes of the equivalent of Spotify and so on in the crypto space. I'm having a look at a project at the moment called Co-Write. I think they're really good. They do have a lot of their supply that's still being withheld, but they're a very new project. And even storage. Now, storage might not get you the quick gain that you would look for in a bull run, but I think storage will have its place and will go big when mass adoption takes place for crypto. And then a lot of those storage projects, we've been talking about a whole bunch on all of our channels on the Crypto Gem Hunters. I've just spoken about Crust. I know Archie's been speaking about Crust Network for months. So, that sort of project as well, where it's got a low market cap right now, and it definitely has the potential to do a 100x, but whether it'll do the next bull run, I'm not so sure. We need to see that mass adoption. So those are also the type of projects that I'm looking at right now, is ones that have that longer term gain. When you get mass adoption, you're going to see the VPNs, the storages, the music. Right now, I think there's something like 1 billion people in cryptocurrency or something like that. When you think that there's 7 billion people in the world. So, and of those 7 billion people, how many do you think listen to Spotify or Apple Music or something on a daily basis? It's 3/4 of the world's population. Why not do that on blockchain? Musicians can make use of blockchain, protect their music from an IP perspective. There's a whole bunch of other things that make it worthwhile. So, it's that for me is one of the biggest narratives that I think we're only starting to catch on to now. AI, obviously, another big one. But the big
Yeah.
ones for me that are sort of being overlooked are storage and music, in my opinion. And I
Yeah,
think even if it's not massive gains in the next bull run, long term, 5 years from now, they will see some of the biggest gains from now.
definitely. I mean, I agree with you. I've also been saying it. I'm bullish on the music narrative because the music industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and we've seen artists, we've seen art take its own rally in the crypto space with NFTs and JPEGs, and people don't. I always say NFTs can also be used for music, and I love how mu- crypto can actually make music better because it's always important. A project should not exist on the blockchain just because they can. There should actually be a use for it. So crypto gives creators full control, full ownership of their music, of their earnings, without any third parties taking advantage of them or taking a cut out of the contents that they produce. And yeah, definitely decentralized music, decentralized storage, very powerful narratives with good fundamentals. And I also love the projects you've brought up. I mean, Aleph Zero is an interesting one. I've gotten several requests to talk about it. And it's a very interesting looking project. Zero knowledge paired with
Hmm.
scalability. So that means that adoption is also possible because if a project is scalable, it means a lot of institutions can use it. A layer one privacy enhancing blockchain. So yeah, and there's one more project I said I was going to cover, and that's check dot. And that's also in the narrative. Hope I'm clear. I hope I'm not breaking up.
No,
Okay.
you're right.
All right, thanks. So yeah, check dots works in the insurance sector of crypto, and that's also a very important area that I believe you know would help aid adoption in the crypto space because I mentioned interoperability, and I also mentioned adoption. And if we want, is a sad reality that there are a lot of scams and a lot of rug pulls and hacks in the crypto space. So some people want this extra confidence in getting into the space, and that's what creates the use for security and insurance crypto projects. And checkdot is one of them, and one of the reasons why I like it, they are already working very closely with many other projects. They've analyzed over 4,000 crypto projects and insured up to $73,000 in assets. So projects can meet them to get people to understand that they have been verified from smart contract vulnerabilities, platform hacks, Oracle malfunctions, wallet exploits, validator slashing, and stablecoin depeg risk. So there's a real use case for a project like this, and I really think checkdots will do well. I mean, it aids adoption and it allows people to get into the space. The token has a very strong use case because that's what projects that are intending to get insured, or that's where projects that want to use their platform services have to get in order to get verified or insured by the project. And that brings me to an event that is happening. I always say one of the things to look out for when I'm investing in a project is a responsive team. And you have to check whether these people are listening to user feedback and not just listening, whether they are implementing user feedback, whether they are confident in their projects, confident enough to come out and say, okay, we are the ones, working on this project, and We are listening to your questions. We want to answer whatever concerns you have, and are also willing to talk about the competition, meaning they have nothing to hide. So I'm really glad that CheckDot is responsive in that regards. And there's an event going on today at 4 p.m. UTC. That's like in an hour from now. The CEO of CheckDot will be live on an AMA session with Crypto Archive, one of the founding members of the Crypto Gem Hunters. So it's going to be a very interesting event. If you have any questions, if you want to understand, what's going on, how the project operates, why I believe is a gem with a lot of long-term potential. I mean, look at CheckDots on CoinMarketCap. This project has a lot of positives in my book. They have 77% in circulation, $1.7 million in market cap, and a project that aids adoption. So this project has a lot of long-term potential. If you want to ask them questions, if you want to have more confidence, a responsive team is something I always look out for. So I'm happy that the team is coming forward to have an AMA. So if you guys want to ask your questions, be sure to tune in. You can also check out the Crypto Gem Hunters Telegram channels and forward your question there so that Archie can have some questions ahead to start asking the CEO. So yeah, definitely a project worth looking into, guys. Pay attention to it and come over to the AMA in 1 hour from now and ask your questions. I'm looking forward to the AMA as well. So that's another project that I'm looking into. Another one that I wanted to bring up when you talked about the music industry is Audios. I really like Audios. I mean, it's got this first mover advantage in the music industry, right? So, and first movers exist for a reason because they are doing what they are doing well, and you know, people are have trusted them and stuff like that. So yeah, I think I'm going to be rounding it up. Except you have any other thing you would like to add, crypto science.
No, one thing I do want to add though is that you mentioned interoperability, and I think that's key. It's the reason why a lot of people are seriously bullish on a project like Quant. Um, I don't know how many people actually realize how important Quant is for the whole ISO 20022 space. We've got XRP that can do the cross-border bank payments. We've got Algorand that does your business to business through the smart contracts. You've got your XDC that is also, but Quant is going to be that backbone that connects everything together. And that's just an example of your interoperability. There's so many use cases out there. You look at like Polkadot with their parachain. You look at a lot of the Cosmos projects with the bridges that they have for Cosmos. Cardano is another one that's a lot of projects there are interoperable with plenty of the blockchains. So I think interoperability, and obviously Chainlink being one of the most popular when it comes to interoperability as well, but interoperability is going to be key because the more that you can interact with other blockchains, obviously the more money you can make, which means for us investing in those coins, the more money we're going to make. So it's a really good point that you bring up with that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm bullish on quants, and I'm even sometimes I get scared to talk about quants because I'm worried about people getting tired of me ranting on and on about quants. So many
Yeah.
videos out there on quants on our channels, guys. Check them out. You would see why I'm really bullish on this project. Just try as much as possible to get 10 to 100 quants for the long term.
You know
That's
what though, when you have a look that supply is only at 14 million, even if you get half the
exactly.
coins, you're going to be
Exactly.
doing okay.
I mean, imagine very limited supply, less than Bitcoin, and it's got 81% in circulation already, and it's sitting at
Yeah.
$100. Man, I think maybe $1,000 easy. 5,000 to $10,000 is certainly within range
I
for
think
quants.
realistic we can be looking at between $6,000 and $8,000 because if you look at it this way, There are only 14 million people in the world that can hold one quant. 14
Exactly.
million. That's less than most countries' populations. So when you
Exactly.
look at it like that, it shows how the scarcity is going to just push that price up. When we see this banking mass adoption for crypto, quant is going to be an absolute beast. And anybody
Exactly.
who's holding more than one quant is going to be, if you're holding 10 quant, you are going to be smiling.
Definitely. I mean, you're not just holding some worthless token.
Yeah,
The entire overledger operating system, the one that institutions are going to use, the one that banks are going to use, the one that other crypto projects are going to use, they all run using the Quant token. So
yeah,
the marketplace, the whole fuel of this interoperability that Quant operates with is using that token. So imagine holding a good amount of this very limited supply. I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely a bullish thing to do right now.
yeah,
So yeah,
100%.
thanks for bringing that up. I'm glad. I'm not. It's not just me. You know, you also like quant as well, and
I
I
think
think
it's a fantastic project. I don't hold any quant, but I think it's a fantastic project. And anybody
yeah,
who's getting into it, you're doing very well.
definitely, and this Bitcoin is presenting another good opportunity for those who weren't able to accumulate. I mean, I've been talking about quant on my channel way since it was less than $100, and I
Mm,
believe anything lower than 100 is a steal for quant. If you believe,
100%.
okay, you want to get in, get some exposure, now might be some good time because of the dip in the markets. But once quant begins to take off, once it begins to get to $500, I mean, don't be surprised. It might get harder and harder to hold 10 quants or 100 quants. So
Yeah,
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 that's it, guys. Be sure to subscribe to Crypto Grinds. It puts out amazing content. You know, mid cap gems, low cap gems, and high cap gems that nobody's paying attention to that are excellent, have good fundamentals, and will do very well. That will grow organically and will absolutely blow off in the next bull run. So, guys, be sure to check out this channel. Subscribe to my channel as well if you haven't done so already. I have a Patreon where I discuss more than just crypto gems. I discuss entry strategies, exit strategies, as well as low cap gems that I'm looking into before I even make videos on. So we do buy alerts as well, and many of the projects that I talk about have gone on to do 3 to 4 exits. So if you're interested in making gains like that, I put the link in the description of all of my videos. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget about the check dot interview. A responsive team is definitely a good thing in the crypto space. Be sure to tune in. That's going to be 4 p.m. UK time in about 45 minutes from now. Tune in, ask your questions, and see why a lot of the gem hunters are bullish on this project. And I hope to see you next time. Stay safe and take care. Thanks, guys.